Hello, and welcome to the Flowers in the Wild. I am your host, Ajna Flowers, and I am so happy. Look who's back with us, Ravena Wyld. How are you, my dear?
Oh, I'm doing so much better. Thank you for the grace to, take a couple of weeks off, but I'm feeling a lot better and refreshed and just in a better spot. So,
That's great.
I've missed
That's great.
everybody and I'm so thrilled to be back.
You were very, very, very missed. But, as you know, sorry, let me get my pretty new coat around my shoulders. So, as you know, we my son Jordan was on
Yes.
who I had not seen like his face for over 5 years
Oh,
because we had
wow.
taken that relationship pause, and so it was just so nice to see his face and to
I can
talk with him
imagine.
and to connect in a really super healthy way instead of those, you know, trauma bonds and those addictions
Right.
that we had connected on. So it was very, just a very edifying, radiant experience. It was lovely. So,
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the episode, and I know that others I've spoken to have they also found that, it was incredibly helpful. You guys were so insightful, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful episode that you did. And also getting to know you. I enjoyed that.
mhm.
I mean, we are very,
Oh, right.
very good friends, but I learned some things about you last week.
So what didn't you know about what was new that you didn't know?
Well, it wasn't so much that it was brand new. I kind of knew the basics of a lot of the
Of
stuff that you talked about,
you
but
knew the cliff notes.
I knew the Cliff Note version, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was great to hear just more detail and everything. I loved it. It was wonderful. So,
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was interesting. It was fun. I was really glad that Jack was willing to do a little participation in the whole thing. And
oh, I thought that was amazing too. It was really nice to hear him and see how
right.
you guys interact and
And I just
everything.
love his laugh. So, when
Me
he would
too.
laugh and when I'd go back to when I went back to edit it, I was just like, "Oh, I just love that. I just love hearing his laughter."
It's just so great to hear
However,
you guys so happy.
yeah, well, however, the last couple days, I really didn't want to hear a lot of anything from him. We had a little bit of a rough patch. I had a rough patch, um, kind of about the same time that you started having your flare.
Oh,
Um, and I feel like some of that honestly was us not talking as much as we did normally because I feel like
right.
that really is an uplifting part of our day is spending that time. And with things that I was busy with and things that, you were resting and trying to get that all back together, it just kind of was like, wow, this is weird. We're not fighting. We're not talking it's not because we don't want to talk to each other. It's just that life is like an ocean and it will just do whatever. And you just have to figure out how to either surf or drown.
Right. Yeah,
And,
it's the ebb
you
and
know,
flow.
almost 58 feels a little young to start surfing. However, what it is that I've been doing that I thought was surfing, something new has got to be better than that. Or
Right.
allowing, just being like, you know what? Well, like if you think about allowing the universe and staying calm, if you're in the ocean and you start feeling panicked and you start grabbing for the water to hold on to,
Right.
you are potentially going to drown because that you will always be sinking, looking for something that isn't there. But if you
Exactly.
just relax and just let the water envelop you and allow it to hold you up,
Mhm.
once you do that in the water, You don't lay there on your back thinking, "Okay, if I don't control this, I'm not gonna be able to keep floating." You're like, "Oh, okay. So don't don't do anything. Leave this alone and just allow it to happen."
Yeah,
And it's the same
it's
thing with the
giving up
universe.
control, and that's one of the hardest things.
But once you do, it's like, why why did I think that I wanted all of that control ever?
Mhm.
When now I know this is what I control.
Right.
And
The weightlessness. Yeah.
I was so confused about what it was that I was searching for that I missed the very simplicity of where it was and what it was I was searching for.
I've experienced that too in my own life in a different way. Um, I've constantly felt like I've had to continue to push and, to achieve despite the fact that I'm struggling with MS and various other things.
Right.
Um, so I forced myself to get through, you know, my my undergrad and my first master's degree. And then because I had that feeling that I had to keep pushing and I had to keep proving myself,
Mhm.
I went on and I got my second master's degree. And
Right.
I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of my ability to have done that. But when I think back of how damaging it was to me at the time because I was so tired all the time and I was actually hurting my health. Um,
Which
and like
probably, led into the MS getting to the place that it got to because you
most definitely.
literally destroyed your body because that was something you had complete control over.
Yeah.
So it became the whole drive, the whole obsession because you're like, over here in my private life, it's chaos, no control,
Right.
nothing. However, I can learn, and no one can say that I can't. And I will
Exactly.
continue to prove over and over that I'm the one that controls what I learn. And
Yes.
so it to the absolute detriment of your very life force. You because everything else was so out of control and
Mhm.
had been your whole existence.
My whole life. Yeah. I don't remember a time where I was not, well, present time excluded because things are pretty good right now.
Right.
But um prior to the last year or so, I really don't remember a time in my life that was not engulfed in complete chaos to some degree.
Right.
Um and you know, things that I didn't have a lot of control over, but I had control over how I reacted to them, which I think
Oh,
leads into
right.
something that you were wanting to talk about today.
Right. So one of the things I want to talk about is after a spiritual awakening and you feel that radiance and you feel that um
Mhm.
no one tells you because I don't know that people realize it. And I just happened upon a video on YouTube that was like what it's I think the title was something like why does a spiritual awakening kill motivation? Was that what it was called? I believe.
I think it's pretty close. I don't have it in front of me right now, but yeah,
And
I
so for
think
the
you're pretty
last,
close.
what would we say, month? Probably since I got back from visiting
I
you
think,
last
yeah,
time. I've
it's been right
felt
around
this
a month.
slow where and I would say to Jack, I don't know, I feel like I've lost my sparkle. Like
Mhm.
it's just and I'm like, I really believe that it was a true spiritual awakening, but I don't know. I don't know what happened. And so this video showed up and I'm listening to it and it was like it is that is the time between that spiritual awakening and when your old self isn't like completely healed or done away with, and your new self is not completed yet either. So you're in this weird limbo of,
Right.
I don't want to be this person over here, but I I haven't gotten to the place that I reside over here in the calm, still,
Mhm.
quiet place instead of the reactionary projection oftentimes place.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think too, because the energy is so different, so when you're purely reacting and, living in that old realm, um, the energy tends to be a little bit more frenetic,
Right,
frantic and it's
right,
almost like there's friction, I guess is
right.
a good way to put it.
It's like you're Tom
Um,
Cruise running everywhere.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Um, but once you start to awaken and move into that other, I don't really want to say realm because we're still in this plane, but
Right.
um, you know, mental state, I guess is a better way to put it. Um, there's so much peace to be had there. And it's very disconcerting and can be very scary. And
When
I
that
know for
feels when
me,
it goes away, when you start feeling like you've lost that, is that what you're saying? That it's like,
yeah. Well,
I'm like,
both. I mean,
no,
when
no,
you
no,
first
no.
experience it, but then
And
also
when it
once you've experienced it, and then it starts to
and that
kind of
ebb,
go back to the way it was, it's there's a
but
mourning that
not.
happens.
But it's like, but it doesn't. And that's the thing that's different about it this time because I've done a lot of things that have made me feel some kind of way about something, you know.
Right.
Um, but it was fleeting always. This time, when I felt that loss of sparkle, I'm
Hmm.
like, this isn't going to go away because it can't. I awakened something that I can never go back to
Yes.
being who I was the
Yes. And
before this time and the after this time, like what Jordan and I were talking about. I
mhm.
I I have seen what it's about. I've seen the simplicity and the reality of a spiritual awakening that I had never experienced until New Year's Eve,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I knew that it was there. I just wasn't able to figure out how to get it back. And then
Yeah.
Jack and I had the disagreement.
Hmm.
And in my past, well, the second and third husband, same person, um, in that relationship, narcissistic people will look for strong, independent, outspoken women
Hmm.
because that's part of the game is to tear that down.
Right.
That's the fun of finding that strong, independent woman and turning her, trigger warning, always on the show, turning her
Hmm.
into someone who is literally weeks, days, or hours away from ending her life because
Yeah.
she believes that is the only sacrifice that will make him happy.
Yeah.
Literally, that's all I have left to give to this person that I have given every ounce of my life force. And now, if that is the thing that will make him feel loved and happy, then on one hand, on the other hand, it's like, I can't live another day in this. And I don't know. I don't know what how to get out. I don't
Yeah.
know what the exit is. The people I tried to reach out to, I mean, I didn't really just blatantly come out and say, "You need to rescue me from this."
Right.
But I felt like I tried to hint in ways and say it in a way that was like, "Oh my god, you gotta help me. This is"
Yeah.
so because I felt super stuck in that I'm sorry, but that strong, independent woman with the voice is my soul. That
Yeah.
does You might think you broke her and destroyed her and damaged her forever. She did not go away. So, because I felt like I didn't have any other choice but fight back with the
Yes.
same ammunition that was
Yes.
being used toward me in order to survive in a situation, that the other option was either I was going to drink myself to death or I
Right.
was going to not exist anymore. Those were the options. So, in fighting to get to Ajna flowers today, did I make some bad choices? Yes, I did.
Mhm.
I Was I cruel in ways that were so not my nature? Absolutely. And on the one hand, I can say, so while this person literally in everything they said and did had some kind of cruel intention and literally said, when we're fighting, I will think about the thing that I know will cut you the
Yeah.
deepest and then say that to you. But there was another part of me that was kind of like, I'm sorry. It's the fucking you get for the fucking you gave.
Yeah.
And
I experienced that too.
that was what got me to the place that I was like, I will not give him the satisfaction of my very life as the final act of sacrifice. That will not be the way my story ends.
And,
And
thank God you were able to come to that
and
place.
the stars aligned and Jack showed up and rescued me, and here we are fighting like our anniversary, our 9-year anniversary
9
is
years. Wow.
April
Congratulations. That's
23rd.
amazing.
Yeah, so it's but what I found in that disagreement was there were times that he would say something to me,
Mhm.
and because my default in a extremely narcissistic abusive relationship was protect yourself, fight
Right.
back.
Right.
Don't worry about what it is, just go in there scrapping, and hopefully you come out less damaged than he. But that's not Jack and Jack isn't that person.
Right.
Jack does very human things that all humans have in common, but that doesn't mean because that human similarity once in a while shows up
Mhm.
that I am living that same narcissistic, abusive existence in a very amazing, healthy, imperfectly perfect human relationship.
And I think it's just truly beautiful that you're able to recognize that and see that now. I know for me, I became while I was in my marriage, particularly, my marriage lasted almost 20 years.
Right.
And while we were together, we were very toxic for each other. It was not all him. I
Oh,
I played a very active role in that because I became this person who reacted to situations and
right. Right. And
other
they start out as the antagonizer, but then it ends up that you both become the
yes,
antagonizer in this abusive relationship. The
definitely.
difference is he does it for sport or because he doesn't care, or it doesn't even cross his mind to treat you any differently than anybody else in the world,
Mhm.
or he does it because he's cruel and he does it to hurt you. So you, he does it for totally different reasons
Right.
than when you became an antagonizer because you did it to survive an survivable situation at that point. But it also came to your mind, this is not me. So, because this is who I now am in this relationship,
Mhm.
I can no longer be in this relationship.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Because a narcissist, if you're willing to stay, they won't turn you loose.
I think there is a difference to be,
And with
um
your situation is a little different also.
yes. Yes. He
However,
was he
go ahead.
was he had some complexity, due to the autism and everything. He wasn't as aware as, I
Right,
think,
right.
someone who is behaving in a specific way, um,
To be cruel.
just to be
Right,
cruel. I
right,
don't think, I did see sides of him where he was not a cruel man as a rule.
right,
He just wanted everybody to just leave him alone, and I saw that, and the problem is that I became lumped in with everybody. There was some shift at some point in our relationship where and whether it was because of a way that I reacted to a situation or just life happening where
right,
um I stopped being special in the sense that I was his wife and I just became another person. And
right,
there
right.
was
Well,
no difference.
and see, that's the thing is, yes. So on the side, on his side of it, the facts are he had he had situations in his life that he didn't handle the way you would have handled it simply because he didn't see things
In
that
the same
way
Yeah,
at all.
yeah. His worldview was
So
very different
so while that is true, the trauma and the damage that behavior caused you is no less real or significant or very similar to narcissistic abusive trauma.
the trauma is the same, for
Exactly.
sure.
Exactly.
And I
So I
that
kind
was
of
one
I
thing I wanted to point out. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you.
oh
Um,
heavens up. Well, I talk over you all the time, so we'll just do this. It'll make me
um,
feel better if you talk over me too.
okay, well, that was one thing that I wanted to be clear about after the last episode where I was talking so much about him. Um, First of all, I participated, like as I said before, I participated in the toxicity. We just should not have been together, period.
Right. Well, and
You
this is
know,
the thing. You know when that decision absolutely should have been made early
yes,
on.
it
You
should have
know,
early on.
because that right there, that was when the responsibility that you played in the relationship becoming the marriage and becoming what it did was the fact that you knew in your heart it was not. It didn't
It
feel
wasn't
right at that point.
it didn't
It
feel
didn't
right.
feel right
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah.
And so that at that point, because you were taught as a child that if someone does do something, makes an effort, it is unkind and very rude and offensive to
Mhm.
not just put aside any doubts, anything, and just suck it up because, um, what did they do? Look at what they
Well,
did for
yeah,
you.
you know,
Really,
it's
they
it's
came,
for me,
like,
it's
literally from across the ocean, and now you're gonna
and
be like, "Well, it's not
that
what
was
I
the
thought
big
it was gonna
thing.
be," you know?
That was the big thing, was that he had come from so far away for the specific purpose of being with me. And I felt then from the very beginning that I owed him. But that sort of mentality for me actually began long before I ever met him. It began when I was a very small child, which was,
Right,
one of the other things that I wanted to kind of.
right. Well, I wanna get into that because I definitely wanna do that, but I just wanna touch really fast, and I
Mhm.
wanna say that while Ravena and I were put in a situation of desperation on
Yeah,
how to survive this nightmare, we hadn't learned that standing up for ourselves first and foremost was the number one way to protect ourselves. So
right.
we ended up in situations that we were not equipped for and had absolutely no protection or safety against
Yes.
because of what had become normal in the dysfunction of our life.
Yes.
So while yes, we did, I'm not proud that I resorted to that point,
Yeah, me
but I
me
am
either.
super proud that I am here today because I can tell you, had I have not fought back with that same ammunition, we
Yeah.
this podcast would not be. Ajna Flowers would not be. And I'm just gonna venture a guess and say that Ravena Wild would not be, at least at this point, probably.
Not at this point, I guess the main thing that I before I leave the topic of what happened in my marriage,
Yes,
the one thing that I wanted to make very clear is, partially because he has passed away and he cannot speak for himself anymore.
right,
So I want to make that very, very clear that he was not fundamentally a horrible, awful, mean person. Um, he also had situations in his past that led him to become the person that he ultimately was. So, like we said, just a couple of moments ago, the thing was that relationship was just from the start should not have moved past the beginning. And for me, all of that can be traced back to when I was a young child, and things that formed in my mind because of my father and who he was and what I witnessed at home and how all of that um, taught me how to be, particularly how to relate
right.
to men.
Well, it
Um,
taught you what to put up with.
right.
It blurred the lines of what was acceptable and what wasn't acceptable. So it made you believe that these very unacceptable things were to a point acceptable, even though they didn't feel that way in your
Hmm.
being, because it was your dad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
So
yeah.
you started at a young age believing that things that absolutely were not acceptable in any relationship were, because
Right.
your dad was blurring those boundaries before you even knew anything about having boundaries.
Yes, absolutely. Before I even knew what a boundary was, you know.
Right.
Um, along those lines, if this is a good time to move into that,
It absolutely is. And once again, I just want to say neither one of us are
uh,
licensed counselors. I
right,
am an
very important.
LGBTQ plus coach. So I do have some training. I'm also a natural health care consultant. So I do have some credentials in this field. However, this is solely our experiences, our conversations, and us giving you little tips and tools that might be helpful, that may help
Right.
you along the way. I also just want to let everyone know that we're going to be getting into some pretty sensitive
Yes.
material
Yes.
from this point. So trigger warning, um, there's going to be sexual abuse, um, emotional abuse, physical. I mean, so we just want you to be prepared that because this is a it's a haunting story that has ended up becoming this beautiful
Becoming
Ravena
Ravena
Wild.
Wild.
So, welcome to part 2 of Becoming Ravena Wild.
Yes. Um, so, as I mentioned, all of this started for me um, when I was very, very, very young. Um, I didn't start putting pieces together though until I was working on my first master's degree is in creative writing,
Oh,
and
okay.
one of the challenges that we had in that uh, within the coursework was to write a personal essay and to talk about some parts of our lives that were a little bit more challenging to get through. And
Right.
I naturally, because at the time I was just becoming aware of the MS and that it was affecting me, that it was very likely I had it. I had not been officially diagnosed yet, but
Oh,
because I
okay.
was
And so now,
familiar with,
so what year? Did you say what year around?
well, when I wrote the piece that I'm going to share,
Right.
um, it was 2013.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I wasn't diagnosed until the fall of 2014.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I was aware though for much longer what was going on was very likely what my father had experienced. Um, my father had multiple sclerosis as well, um, and I witnessed a lot with him while he was still in our home. He left our home when I don't know exactly how old I was. I think I was about 10 by the time he
Okay.
was he was finally officially moved out for good. Uh, but up until that point in time, he was um, going through the throes of very progressive multiple sclerosis. There are different types. There's what I have, which is relapsing remitting, and that means basically that it comes and goes. I have periods like
Okay.
I just went through, which was a flare, and all of my symptoms flared up. I was very tired. I could barely get out of bed. I could barely move. And then other times I'm really functional. Um,
So, what is the longest time frame you have gone without any kind of flare? And what are some of those flares that you have experienced and the time frame on those?
um, the longest I've gone in between, I would say maybe 2 months
Okay.
since I've become aware of the disease. Um,
Right. Right. Okay.
so I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question?
Oh, and when you like because you've shared some of your symptoms that you've had in
Hmm.
really bad flares.
Yes.
Like for instance, your vision,
Oh, I
losing
did
your
have an
vision.
episode. That was the scariest thing that I think has happened to me. Um, is I woke up one morning and I was essentially blind. Um, and visual disturbances and everything within multiple sclerosis do happen pretty frequently. In fact,
Right.
that's usually what causes people to become aware that they have the disease because
Oh,
something
okay.
changes in their vision and they go to the doctor.
So,
Um,
like, were you, like, completely, like, no vision whatsoever?
well, I was legally blind, by that definition. I was
Wow.
legally blind. I think my visual acuity was something like, well, I don't know the exact number. I never had it tested at that point, but I mean, I literally could not see if my hand was right here. I couldn't see my hand just at that distance.
And then how long did
Um,
that last?
about a
And did it,
month.
like, did it gradually come back, or was it like you couldn't see, and then you woke up the next morning and you could see?
No, it was gradual. Um,
Okay.
but as far as when it happened, it was very sudden. It was just I woke up one morning and I just could not see. And as somebody who reads and writes and everything all of the time, not having my vision was one of the scariest things that has ever happened.
Well, and I would imagine there was just, like, a panic too, that, like, "What am
Oh,
what am I
definitely.
gonna what am I gonna do? This literally is my livelihood and my life. It literally is everything that I love
Yeah.
and do. So, what am I gonna do now?"
Well,
Yeah,
and
that
it
ooh,
was so bad. I mean, at the time I was still living in that home, you know, with my
right.
husband, and that house was a very dangerous place to be. He had hoarding tendencies, and it was just a very because I couldn't physically do a lot as far as cleaning and keeping things up.
Well, and
Um,
your mobility also has been
exactly. Yeah.
less than
And
optimal for quite a while.
right. And he just had no desire to deal with it because he just didn't want to deal with anything. He just wanted to
Right.
um exist, but he didn't want to have to deal with any extraneous stuff.
It it's
And
interesting, I think, with you guys having met online,
mhm.
that him ending up being the kind of person he was. It's surprising to me that he even followed through with coming.
Well, when we first got together, he was in a very different mindset than he was at by the time I left that home. Um, and then again, by the time he passed away,
Oh,
he
no.
had head and neck cancer, and um,
Right.
unfortunately, it took him very quickly. He was only,
Right.
you know,
Well, I
however,
remember when you first told me about it, and then it was like, how soon after that?
it was, I think, about a month and a half, maybe 2 months
Yeah.
from diagnosis to when he passed.
So
It
was it
was,
was it because he had not gotten
you know
things
what?
checked
That's
that he
wrong.
should have?
I'm sorry. I'm misinforming people. He was diagnosed
Okay.
in January, and he passed away in April on Easter. Um, and I don't want to go too far into that because I still want to respect his privacy.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. However, I don't want to detract from your own story either,
sure.
because the thing
Yeah.
about it is every single person has someone in their life that has a story that does
Right.
not present them in the best light. That doesn't mean that that person as a whole was a horrible person. That means that your experience with that person was not an ideal experience for
That is a
either of
perfect way to
you.
put it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in I don't want you to feel silenced in sharing your story that talks about your experience with this person that these people may not have ever even seen or
Mhm.
experienced themselves. So, I understand people being very protective of their loved ones after they've passed. And it's like, well, I don't know why you have to tell this when they don't can't defend themselves or whatever. Well, then they should have behaved better when they had the
Well,
chance.
it's
Because
even
if they didn't want that to be the legacy that was left with you being in their life or with me being in his life, there there were things because like you said, he was the kindest man you ever knew. So you knew he could be that way. Why wasn't he that way to his special girl? If he was able to do that. And that was my other problem where mine would say, well, I just can't control it. I just when I except you do it for 8 hours a day at work with people
yeah,
that I know you don't wanna spend the rest of your life with.
right. I think, in my marriage, it was, I guess the main thing that I want to say about that is that just because I um became somebody that I'm not proud I became, I do want to express the fact that I did love him. I still love him.
Exactly,
Even though
and I
he's
do
gone,
believe
I still love him.
and I
And
know that, and that's why we are working so hard on talking through this and doing the releasing ceremonies that we're doing
right,
and those kind of things because we've talked to that I know that you love him, and you did love him, and that was a lot of the drive. But the problem is when you love someone like that, the way you love him, the trauma bond then, it becomes confusing. What is love and what is
yes,
the trauma bond? And
yeah,
I feel
exactly,
like it's that love and trauma is so interwoven and enmeshed in that story of yours with him
definitely, yeah,
that in order for you to untangle that, the facts are he acted in a way that did not make you feel loved and special, and you acted in a way that did not make him feel loved and special at
right,
some point.
right,
However, that doesn't change the fact that as whole people, they loved, they cared,
right,
they and that people loved and cared about them. Um, so we're not ever trying to smear anybody's name or be like, well, they did this, or it's like, my experience is this. I reacted wrongly to a wrong situation.
situation, yes.
So
Which I
I'm
think
not saying that your experience with him isn't exactly what know it to be, but I also know what my experience was with
oh,
him.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
Um, I do think that's a good segue, actually,
most definitely.
to get back into what I started to share, about my past is that
Just see, I
all
talk
of
over you
these
too.
all of these, beliefs and ideas and everything, they did start, you know, way back in the way back machine. Um,
Right.
and, when I was working on this essay that, I would like to share if you don't mind,
Absolutely. No, I would love
um,
for you to do that.
then, at that time, I was trying to process this idea of having this disease and, the fact that it tied me back to my father, with
Right.
whom I had a very, very, very complicated, um, I don't even want to call it a relationship because he wasn't around for most of my life. But
Right.
um, I had a very complicated idea, of him and of that.
And well, you had a very interesting interaction.
Yes,
That was what your life with him so involved was this interaction, then he was not there anymore.
Right, exactly. Um, and the way that this plays into my writing, is that the project that I was working on, at the time, well, I'm still working on it because it's slow.
Yeah.
um, I'm working on a novel, and as I was doing some research
Is
for
that the
that
one you sent
project,
me? Was that the one
yes,
you sent me?
yeah,
Ugh, I started it and I kind of didn't forget about it, but you know,
well,
but
we
it's
have,
so good.
oh,
It's
thank you.
so good. Oh, I
Thank
couldn't
you.
stop. I mean, I
Um,
read several many pages that first day.
oh, but that makes me feel good. Thank you so much.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thanks for sharing it.
this was just as I was starting that project, so I wasn't very far into it. I
Okay.
was doing a lot of research for it, and I happened in the middle of the night one night while I was doing research, I found a digital image of my father's tombstone online, and it was a complete accident. I wasn't looking for it. Um, I was to be honest, I was trolling a digital cemetery because I was looking for interesting epitaphs
Oh, okay.
that older tombstones
Right.
have on them. And
Yeah, they're very
I
cool.
I didn't even know that he was buried in that particular spot
Oh, wow.
because they didn't tell my sisters and I, after he passed away, they didn't tell us where they buried him. Um, quite honestly, and I never asked, I never looked. But I happened to come
Right.
across this digital image, and it started to bring up a whole lot of stuff um, for me, and so I ended up writing this essay that I'm going to share. Um, it's called "Last Night I Found Your Tombstone," um, and it's about that experience of finding that tombstone in online, and how it brought up all kinds of memories
Right.
and well, issues because I became very depressed after all of
Right.
this. So,
Oh, I can
um,
imagine.
so I guess I'll just get into it. um,
Absolutely.
Last night I found your headstone. The picture peered at me through digital haze, blurry from 36 years of tears unshed. Perhaps I merely need new glasses. I hadn't been looking for it. Research for my novel brought me to the digital cemetery. Your name appeared as if lit by neon. I clicked without thinking. I made the picture bigger, searching the granite stone for details of the childhood I lost far too soon. Maybe they were etched beneath the letters of your name. Harold, the name that still makes me squirm and fight the urge to hide even as I type it. I made the picture small again, wanting to click it away, close the screen, and forget. My cursor froze over the red X in the corner. My heart wonders why it didn't mean more that last night I found your tombstone. Do you remember that house, Daddy? It was the one with the tree house in the backyard. Do you remember that day? I do. It was spring. The sky was a vivid blue, so bright that it hurt my eyes to look at it. I wore the yellow dress that Mama had made for me, and you told me I looked pretty. You were in a good mood that day. Your giant hand engulfed mine as we walked up the front path to the door. You smiled at me, but then you weren't smiling anymore. The ground reached up and wrapped itself around you. You crashed to the pavement, and all I could do was stand there and cry. I wanted you to get up, but you couldn't. The grown-ups came running to help you, and all I heard was your angry voice saying, "Stop crying. You're acting like a child. I was a child, but I didn't remain that way for long. Do you remember? I do. Last night I found your headstone. It was a relief in a way. I had wondered what had happened after they took your cold shell away. The funeral was surreal. Grandma came in and demanded to know who we were and why we were seated in front, as if we, your children, had no right to be there and our pain was less than hers. I heard someone tell her, "It's the girls." And for an hour or two, we pretended to be a family. I bent to kiss your cheek. It was an act of duty, not affection. My lips are still freezer burned. "Did your dad know that you have purple hair?" some guy asked. It had been 6 years since I'd seen you. I silently shook my head. "Tell me about your bad dreams," you said one night to my sisters and me. We each recounted a dream of terror. You took great delight in naming them all and calling them one by one down the stairs. There was theater in the way you kicked them out the front door and locked it behind them so that they would not bother our sleep anymore. You kissed me goodnight that night. Do you remember? I do. Last night I found your headstone. Out of curiosity, I looked for Grandma's too. It was there next to yours, a cold gray stone, unadorned with epitaphs of love. I wanted it to read, "The creature in Idaho lies here." Instead, it bore only her name, Virginia. Harmless sounding, no testament to the terror she reigned, no mention of the ignorance and bigotry which oozed from her pores. There was no record of the brainwashing she'd attempted, the way she tried to make me hate the woman who gave me life and who loves me more than I deserve. Nothing was noted of the martyr she attempted to make of herself. At least karma had made her miserable. The creature was dead for 4 years, and I never knew. I thought the world would have shifted somehow, been lighter, happier when she was gone. But my universe didn't change. I didn't know until last night when I found the headstones. The heavy metallic scrape of your walker startled me. I winced as you lumbered into the entryway where I had set up watch. "What are you looking at?" you accused, as if I had been staring at you instead of the rain. I wish I had stayed upstairs and watched the storm from my bedroom window. I would have been safe from you. You couldn't climb the 2.5 flights of stairs in the house on Pioneer. I might have been safe from you if I just stayed up there. Do you remember? I do. "I was watching the storm, Daddy. Tyler told me that it was going to snow today." I forgot that happiness and excitement were unacceptable in our house. You became enraged if we laughed too much or too loudly. My feet started to dance around the tile of the entryway. I didn't notice the way your eyes suddenly turned cold, replaced by blue ice, a warning signal. I was waiting for it to start, because you know why? When it starts snowing, I'm going to go build a snowman and a snow fort and start a snowball fight. Do you think it'll snow, Daddy? Will you build a snowman with me, Daddy? Your cold and loving stare landed on my face, moments before your hand crashed into my cheek. Your wedding ring cut into my skin and drew blood. Although you couldn't walk well anymore, you could still send me crashing to the floor with one swipe. I didn't move while you turned away without looking at me and made your way slowly back to the ugly brown, overstuffed chair the throne from which you ruled the kingdom. I could hear your labored breath as you struggled to breathe and to sit. I knew that I should help you, but I was too scared. Instead, I stood on my shaky legs, grabbed my doll, and started toward the stairs that would lead me to the safety of my bedroom. Do you remember? I do. I'm sorry, honey. It's MS, the doctor said, placing a warm hand on my shoulder. I'd known on some level. I'd been struggling for years, making myself walk through sheer willpower, even when every step hurt and my feet became blocks of concrete. I'd fallen more times than I could count, my legs and feet going numb and refusing to function in the way that they were supposed to, and that I had taken for granted. I'd gotten so used to being dizzy that I noticed it more when it stopped than when it began again, and the fatigue was paralyzing. After 10 years of being patted on the head and told to just lose weight, you'll feel better, the doctor was handing me an answer, like a piece of rotten fruit. I numbly scheduled appointments, thinking of the legacy you left me: disease. I watched it eat you for 14 long years, in a time before there was medicine. I watched you decide not to live. You gave up because it was easier than facing your sins. I saw you turn from towering giant to drooling vegetable. Would it happen to me now? I decided it would not. It could not. Your power is rotted, faded, gone. And last night, I found your headstone.
You need to take a breath or two?
I'm okay.
Okay. That that's amazing. It's so just yeah, so raw and real and just very hits you in the heart.
It was cathartic to write that, and every time I read it now, it heals me a little bit more.
Exactly.
Um, there were plenty of other things that happened in my home, my childhood home. Um, Even after he left, there was still stuff. I mean, every family has stuff.
Right.
Um, but I think that those experiences that I wrote about there were some of the most um, damaging.
They were like the
And
damaging core memories.
yes,
You know how
yeah,
we have core memories and those were them. That
yeah,
was the memories of the damage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that that piece is, to date, the only piece that I've ever had published anywhere. Um, Even though it's painful to read, and painful to go over, I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the fact that even back in 2013 when I wrote it, I was already starting to realize that the way I had been living my life up until that point was not working anymore.
Right. You
And
get to that place that you ask yourself, if nothing changes from this point on, can I continue this for the rest of my life? And that is the pivotal answer that you have to come up
right,
with. It's like, no. This if it doesn't change, I absolutely cannot continue in this. And that is where that first ray of light shines in.
right, yeah. And for me, at that point in time, that was really the very first nugget of that awareness. And I didn't it didn't materialize the rest of the way until I very, very nearly died, um, because
Right.
of the environment in the house where we lived. I
Right.
had a septic blood infection in one of my legs, um, that I was probably about an hour away from dying by the time I got to the hospital. And it was because I had just convinced myself that, I was so tired and I just did not want to continue. And I was
Right.
willing to let
Oh,
my physical state just take me,
well, I
because
don't know if you've ever said to yourself or even out loud where it's like, it would just be easier.
oh, I
I know
definitely
something
was
isn't right. I know that this will end up ending my life, but it just feels easier to just let it
I
write, just
wanted
for
it
me to
to.
write it out. Just write it out and let it do whatever, and then I'll be gone.
At that point, I really wanted it to because everything had just gotten so difficult. Um,
Right?
the home that we lived in, because it was so toxic, I mean, that was why I had the blood infection to begin with, was just because there was so much garbage and nastiness
Well,
around. We
and I'm
had
sure
black
that, like, the
mold.
edema the edema
Yeah,
probably didn't help in that either.
no. And then one of the cats happened to scratch me, and all of the nastiness that was living in the house got
Got
into my
into
blood,
oh,
and I just ignored it to the point that it turned septic. Um, and it was after that experience, being in the hospital for almost a month after that,
oh, wow.
um,
Wow.
that I realized I wanted to stay in the hospital, not because it was fun. I certainly wasn't enjoying it, but I was more at peace there than
Well,
I
it was
felt
clean.
at
It was
home.
at least clean.
Yeah, and I wasn't, I was in an enormous amount of pain. I don't know, anybody who's ever had a septic infection knows how unbelievably painful that is.
Right.
But um
I have not, but I have been married to someone who
so
experienced a lot of
yeah,
crap like
yeah, so
that,
you
yeah.
you saw that. And it even though I was hurting, I wanted to stay in that safe environment where people cared about me. They cared about whether I was in pain to begin with.
Right.
Um, they wanted me to be okay. And it was that realization that I would rather stay in the hospital than go to back to my home that
Right. Where you
really
felt
made
like
me.
that was the strange place was home, not the
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah. And really honestly, the only reason that I went back home, because social workers and doctors and everything in the hospital at that time, they were telling me not to go back. Um, Honestly, the only reason I did was because I knew that my cats were stuck there
Right.
and they were still living in that.
Which, I
And
mean, that shows that that shows your heart in that, you're like, "Nope,
well, they were my lifeline. They were really
yep,
honestly the only thing that kept me sane.
yeah.
Um, and I both of those cats have since gone over the bridge, but um, I still credit them completely with saving me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, so you know,
Because,
um,
that really is a pet's job. That really is their
mhm,
purpose,
yeah,
to
yeah,
rescue us because we are shown absolute unconditional love. And doesn't matter how many times you come in and out of a door, they're so excited to see us. It's like, can you imagine if every time, well, now, this is a part of the slumber party where every time you walk in and out of the room, I'm going to jump up and down with excitement.
right. Did we ever explain that when we say that, what that means, so
I
people
don't know
understand it?
if we did, but the first time I went to see Ravena in Idaho, um, we were oh, we had talked that this was like the best slumber party we'd
Yeah,
ever had. And so what was the first thing we came up with that was like, this is a part of the slumber party where we
This is the part of the slumber party where we cry
yes,
because we were talking about emotional things and we both
right.
started tearing up and that was how that came up was, "Oh, this is the part of the slumber party where we cry." And
And
then
so
it just
then
kind
now
of
it just is now
now
anything.
it's
It's
just
like,
a
and
funny
this
thing,
is a part of
but
the slumber
yeah.
party, right? But our slumber parties are amazing. The
They are.
week-long slumber party.
It's
And we are both
fantastic.
exhausted, but we are both exhausted by the end of the visit.
Yeah, but worth it. Totally worth it.
Very worth it.
So
Totally. So,
so I kind of meandered all over the place, but is there more that you wanted to touch on
was
or
there
that you wonder
anything
about?
else? Is there anything else that you feel like would go well with this part of your story that you haven't shared, or is that pretty much
No,
it in a nutshell?
I think that's basically it. I think that as far as this part of my sordid tale goes, um, it's a good place to pause for now. So,
Right. Okay. Well, and I really want to bring up one more time about our responsibility in an
mhm,
abusive relationship and using that same ammunition to fight that abuse. Um,
yes,
the goal is to realize it before you're in a situation that your only option left is to
yes,
resort to acting in a way that is completely out of character, that makes your stomach hurt every
mhm,
time you treat them in a way that is goes so against your very fiber, your being.
yes,
So if there is anything we're responsible, if we drop the ball at any point, it is not paying attention to that first thing that says, this is not part of your story. So
right,
do not force it to fit.
right. Um, Along those same lines, though, I do think that we both um feel very strongly that even by taking, you know, uh, accountability for the way that we reacted to things, it's very definitely not a form of victim blaming. So if you or anybody that you know is in a bad situation, a relationship that where they are being hurt, um, I am certainly not advocating that, you know, it's the person's fault for being in that situation. The most important thing is that they get to safety, that they feel loved, that they feel supportive, and that they get help. So I do think that if you do know somebody who is in that situation, that the best thing that you can do to support and help that person is to help them get in touch with resources and, mental health caregivers and people who can actually
That can
stop.
help because talking to someone is great.
Mhm.
However, there are there are only so many resources available when you're
Right.
just talking to someone. So those resources are out there. I will put any of those, I will put the links in the
I was just gonna
description.
ask you that.
Um, and another thing that I wanted to say that I don't remember at this point. So I want to thank my dearest best friend, Ravena Wyld, and just I'm so happy that you are back and you're feeling better and that you took that time to really care for yourself and do what you needed and what progress you have made in putting yourself and your health and your needs as a priority in your life. Even though it's
Honestly,
uncomfortable, how empowered do you feel now that you don't feel like you have to hide what
quite honestly,
the help you
this
need.
this time where I texted you or whatever, and I just said, "Look, I'm feeling this way, and I can't be there today."
Right,
That was the very first time that I can recall, as an adult, that I have put myself, and
first.
my health and my needs, ahead of what I felt was a responsibility. Um,
Right.
which is this podcast, because I do feel that this is a very important thing that we're doing.
Right.
Um,
Like we are talking, it's our job.
it's our yeah, it's our
It's
job.
our job.
But
The
it
funnest
was
job
the first
I've
time
ever
that
had.
I felt like I could, that I
Right.
felt like I was strong enough to be able to say, I need a break, you know, and
Right.
know that I was not going to be attacked, or um that I wasn't gonna be told how worthless I was, or, and then have to deal with that,
Right. Well,
in response.
and
So,
when
thank you
I
for
knew
that.
that that was something you had been worrying about when you
Yes.
talked to me about it, that made me sad because I'm like, I don't ever want this to be something that makes you feel worry or concern about anything as far as it goes. And like I told you too, when we decided to do this podcast together, I knew full well that there were going to be stretches of time that you were not going to be able to do this podcast. And
Right.
so I never put any expectation on you other than I am so glad when you are able to show up.
And I am
That is
so
it.
happy to be here, honestly. This is, such a wonderful space, and I'm happy to be here with you and to share stories and laughter and everything with our audience. And I'm thankful for
Yes.
everybody who tunes in and listens to us.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
that
And
we're
please,
still just getting going, so please feel free
yes,
to
to
share. And
share and talk
yes,
about it and just let people know because I feel like what we are talking about on the level we're talking about it is going to reach a lot of people. We just have to get it out there. So
yes, yes.
anyway, well, Ravina, I just love you so much and I'm so grateful that we're on this journey together and I also want to thank all of you for being here and supporting us. I am your host, Ajna Flowers. Thank you for joining us on the Flowers and the Wild, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.